Hello, good morning. It's just us between now and lunch. It's going to be a stimulating discussion around innovation. I'm very pleased to have two panelists here. We've got on my far right, Mark, the CEO, should I say?
Or just yes. Co-founder. And,
co-founder, of Beerhawk. And then Paul, who is the CTO of End Clothing. And by way of introduction, so you get to know a bit more about themselves and their brand, Paul, can you tell us a bit about you and End Clothing?
Yeah, so we are a men's fashion retailer. The company was started in 2005, I believe, by two friends of mine. They had a little bit of money. They wanted to open a really cool independent menswear store in Newcastle. No real aspirations to do e-commerce. And at the time, I just left my job to become a freelance web developer. So I was like, guys, you need a website. They were like, no, we just want to sell clothes out of this little shop. I was like, no, you need a website. I'm going to build it for you. And it was really successful. At the time, there weren't very many kind of really good websites by independent menswear stores. So it really took off. Fast forward kind of 13 years later, and we were named, I think a few months ago, we were named the 47th fastest growing company in the UK. I think we're the second or third fastest growing company in the Northeast. Our HQ is based in Newcastle. I think 750th fastest growing company in Europe, which doesn't quite have the same ring to it, but we've got the certificate to prove it. It's sat in a drawer somewhere. We've got about 400 employees. We've got a tech team in London. We're very much kind of focused on doing as much as we can in-house. So we've got 32 people, mostly developers based in London here. Very, very much a kind of a global business. So only about 25% of our customers are in the UK. We've got about 25% in the US. We're big in Asia, a lot of emerging markets, South Korea, Japan, Hong Kong. Australia's growing for us. It's real kind of privilege to be a part of it.
Paul, Mark, tell us about Beerhawk and you, how it came about.
Sure, so I'm Mark, one of two co-founders of Beerhawk, and I guess our team are on a mission to try to inspire everyone to find their next favourite beer, which is quite a cool mission if you like beer like I do. Practically, we are an e-commerce retailer. We have a Magento platform. We have just over 1,000 craft specialty beers, plus lots of homebrew stuff, plus lots of other cool beery things that we like to do. We're very involved with the beer community. We do lots of beer events and collaboration brews and things with brewers. We've been going about 6 years. So 6 years ago, a mate and I, Chris, we sort of left our very bland and boring big company jobs. We were both working on sort of big teams and big corporates, and frankly, I think we just got a bit bored with the bureaucracy, the slow decisions, and we thought we should do something on ourselves. We both loved craft beer, and the conversation started in a pub where we had a few pints, and the conversation moved from well, someone should do something about this craft beer thing. You just can't get it at home. And after a few pints, it was, we're going to do something about this craft beer thing. And we carried on the next morning. So we quit our jobs, we bootstrapped it, we sold our cars, which was pretty annoying to our wives, who were both pregnant at the time. Not separate incidents, just to clarify. That was 6 years ago. Roll forward to today. We're not as big as End, but we're about 70 people. We're based in Harrogate and Wetherby in Yorkshire. And we are sort of doing all of our technical development as well in-house.
And it's not very British, Mark, but can you share an innovation that you're proud of?
Yeah. It's not very British.
It's not very British to blow your own trumpet, blow away.
No, so I guess, we try, one of the values we have is always try to constantly make it better. So we try to do lots of little innovations. I think one of the things that we're probably proud of is when we were looking at the different occasions where people were either drinking beer or gifting beer, because gifting is a really big opportunity for us. We sort of looked at sales, and our peak at Christmas was just enormous. So we were doing something like 50% of our annual volume from about mid-November to December, which was just crazy and unsustainable and just caused loads of operational issues. So one of the things we thought about was, what are the things that we could do that could bring some of that demand forward? And after a few pints, we decided that advent calendars were quite a cool thing. We should make a beer advent calendar. So this was about 4 years ago. We didn't make very many that year. In fact, it was a brown box with black numbers on the little doors, had all sorts of issues, but it just sold out instantly. It was incredible. So over the last sort of 4 or 5 years, we've been trying to innovate and sort of make it better, and that's led to a really cool packaging with lots of interesting things going on, collaborations with special and unique brews from interesting breweries who we work with, and just tens of thousands of customers who are drinking the same beer each day and talking about it on social media and engaging with us about it, and that's quite cool.
Pretty cool on that side. What about you, Paul? What's your trumpet blowing moment there?
So there's not a lot of beer involved in mine, which is really disappointing because I think it would be better if there was. So a really big part of our kind of business, probably about 35 to 40%, is limited edition sneakers or trainers, depending which side of the Atlantic you're from. We use sneakers because it's supposedly more premium. And anyone who knows anything about kind of sneaker subculture will know that it's it's very, very huge demand, very, very little supply. Kids queuing up outside of shops for days on end to get a pair of sneakers. And we had this create a lot of technical problems for us because these sneakers would launch on a certain date, at a certain time. You'd have a countdown on your website. This is when they launch, and you would have tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people all trying to buy them at the exact same time. To conflate that problem, this whole industry of sneaker bots sprung up, which were bots designed to kind of try and get these sneakers faster than a human can. So you could Google end clothing sneaker bots, go and buy a bot for anywhere from 30 to 100 quid, and you could use it on our website, and it would just sit and refresh the page and constantly try and add to cart, and it was like a mini DDoS attack every single week. So this was a huge problem for us, and I actually calculated the downtime that we had from this, and it was costing us hundreds of thousands of pounds a year. So what we decided to do, and it was kind of a bit new and scary at the time, was we created a kind of a dedicated microsite, which we completely built in-house, just to launch these really kind of limited edition sneakers that we know if we put this on our website, it's going to bring the site down. So we kind of went down that route. We also put a bot mitigation tool in, which kind of stripped out a lot of the why we class as the stupid bots. They're not very sophisticated ones, so that kind of helped reduce the downtime as well. And so the concept of this website was that if you're interested in a pair of these sneakers, you will sign up, put your address in, choose your size, give us your credit card number, and we will randomly select, if we've got 500 pairs, we'll randomly select 500 people, and we'll charge you automatically, and we'll ship them out to you. And at first, when we did this, I was kind of like, will people actually do this? Will people actually put their credit card number into a website on the off chance they might get a pair of sneakers? And the answer is yes, they do, in their hundreds of thousands. So it was fantastic in the sense that it solved the problem for us. We don't have any downtime anymore. It's a lot fairer. We don't have issues with bots. We do a lot of work on the back end to kind of dedupe and filter out kind of malicious entries, I guess. But we also had some kind of really interesting side effects from it in the sense that all of a sudden now we've got all this data, because before, if we had 100,000 people trying to buy 500 pairs of trainers, we would only get data for 500 people. Now we get the full 100,000 people. We've got all the data. We know what brands they're interested in. We know where they live. We've got the credit card number if we want to charge them. Obviously, we don't do that if they win. But we know what size they are. So we can kind of use that in our marketing as well. And another kind of interesting side effect is that the brands, Nike, Adidas, the people who do these sneakers, really, really like what we're doing because we were kind of presenting the product in a different way, and we put it on this microsite, and it made it kind of feel really special. So we got a lot of kind of buy-in from the brands, and they want to do cool things with us, and we do collaborations now.
You had a highly successful launch with Converse, didn't you?
Yeah, we did a really good launch with Converse. They said it was the best one they'd ever seen, which was super interesting. We're obviously really proud of that. But yeah, we're doing collaboration with Puma. We've got something with Adidas in the works. We're doing something with Vans. We've done trainers with New Balance, like pretty much every sneaker brand. I think the only one we haven't done is Nike. yeah, it's kind of like the innovation, I guess, came out of a real problem, which I think often that is kind of where it comes from. But it kind of had all these side effects that we didn't really anticipate that have been really, really good for our business and our brand.
And so clearly, the pair of your businesses, whilst different, have some similarities around it, and you're both innovative around that. Mark, you've got a culture of innovation because you've just got four values for your business. As you look at then the mechanics of helping create that environment for innovation, what is it that's your approach and that you see work?
Cool. Well, let me share what the values are, because again, sort of back in fairly big corporate worlds, loads of companies had there are 10 values that will...
Should we do a quick poll? Who knows their company's values? Put your hand up. Okay, whose company has more than 6 or more values? Four or less? Whose company has
I have to admit, we do, but I ignore them.
Yeah, who has no values at all? So it's quite telling, isn't it, about the value side?
So that's what I mean. We've seen loads of companies that no one really knew what the values were, and it became really important to us that we acted on them. So we have 4. We're down to earth is the first one. We always make it better. We get on with it, and we give a shit. And that sort of sums up us, really. So, we are a bunch of folk in a warehouse, in Yorkshire, big shed, and we've got a craft beer bar in there, but we're in a shed in Yorkshire. So that really drills home the down-to-earth bit. Always make it better. It's this just sort of constant. Whenever we launch something, it instantly becomes not good enough. So what can we next do? How can we improve it slightly? And so it's that sort of belief that, if you just keep adding 1%, 2% at a time, but you do that enough times, you get a real shift in sort of what happens, especially on the user experience. I think we get on with it really sort of sums up the way that, a lot of people say, we empower our people to make decisions, but don't actually do that. They still make them go and write recommendations and presentations and present to the board and get sign off and have pre-meetings and all of that crap. And we actually do. So we say, okay, the person who is closest to what they're doing, they should take the decision. That doesn't mean that we won't challenge or anyone won't challenge the decision. Doesn't mean they're right, but if they try it, and it fails, I guess the rule is let's not do it again. Let's do something different. But that sort of hopefully just sort of drills the mindset that everyone is involved in making things better. And then I guess we give a shit would be another way of saying we care. So about our team, our sort of staff, our customers, and beer itself, which is really important if you have the privilege of working in such a great industry.
And so that leads into that way of measuring it. So you create an environment that allows you to help foster a spirit of innovation, which is one step. And so, Paul, you've got a team of over 35 people. How do you measure then that spirit, that cultural?
It's very hard, and it's kind of like, I think you have to, when you think about these things, you have to think about them as a process of continuous improvement. So kind of taking those, I like to sort of take those kind of, I guess, agile DevOps principles of continuously improving and kind of apply that to culture and things as well. So I think what you've done is fantastic in the sense of kind of like right at the start, these are our values, this is what we're going to kind of live by. For us, it really hasn't happened like that. It's been much more organic, and we've kind of almost discovered our values as we go along. So we've probably got about, so it's kind of probably, this is probably a good kind of bit to clarify, is that we have a HQ in Newcastle, which is where the majority of our staff are. Our tech team is based in London in Shoreditch. We're got a cool office, same building as Adobe, and we've kind of invested a lot in kind of almost creating a startup within the business. And so that kind of brings with it a bit of kind of an innovation mindset as well, if you're not kind of tied to the big corporate beast almost. Not that we are a big corporate beast, but we're possibly heading in that direction. But in terms of how you measure it, I think, I don't know, is probably the answer to that. Can you measure innovation? I mean, we definitely certainly do things like we do hackathons every twice a year. we promote people to learn new things, and we do get our development team coming to us and bringing ideas to the table. My front-end team came to me and said, we want to rebuild the front end of our website in React, and I said, okay, go do it. So I kind of think that's possibly a good way to measure it, is when the team are bringing ideas to you. You know you're getting something right.
It's a hard thing because you're not sort of measuring innovation for innovation's sake.
Yeah.
I mean there are metrics and tech metrics, median cycle time. Of course, you're wanting to see how your velocity of tech development can improve, but I guess the whole point of innovation is to try to make things better for customers or the business. So I think it's sort of guided more by, I guess what we call our sort of North Star KPIs, which is not just all about revenue. Sort of NPS is one, right. Sort of trying to get our customers back for more and looking at, actual lifetime value. That's another, that's important.
Because you had an innovative idea about having an event, and by traditional measures, it perhaps wasn't as successful, but you're not looking at innovation. Can you tell that story around that?
So yeah, we have this very cool product called Perfect Draft. I don't know if anyone has ever come across Perfect Draft, but you could call it like the Nespresso for beer if you wanted. But it's basically a machine that's about so big that you put a 6-litre keg inside. It cools it down and serves it, perfect draft in your home, and the keg will last for about 30 days. It's definitely not for everyone, but for the people who love this machine, they go nuts by it. So they have their own Facebook group. They're often out one-upmanship on how many perfect draft machines they can have side by side.
Like the sneaker fans.
Yeah, exactly. And so we started engaging with them and saying like, what could we do? What would be great? And one of the themes that came from the group was, wouldn't it just be cool if we all got together and we had an event? And so we said, oh, okay, let's do an event. So we called it PDCon 18 to make it sound cool. Perfect Draft Convention didn't sound very cool. And we hosted it literally in the car park outside of our warehouse, which was also not a very cool place. Remember, this is Wetherby in Yorkshire.
You're really selling it to
Yes, it was brilliant. It should have been that. So we had a marquee, we put on a band. All of our staff just really got involved because they wanted to be part of it. And so we had 22 different beers in different machines lined up. We did some focus groups with the Perfect Draft customers game. Those customers paid over £100 to have the privilege of coming to our car park and to sort of buy new machines and new kegs. They absolutely loved it. If you measured that on a did it make us loads of money? Was it profitable? Was it worth the time on the core metrics? Nah, that wouldn't have worked so well. But in terms of the engagement that we got with the fans of this product and the learnings that we then got to go and build stuff, it was incredible. And you can't buy that in focus groups and using Hotjar and stuff like that. That comes from luckily having a beer with people at the time, and that's what we got from it.
Because you get that similarly with the unique launches that you're doing with that intense fan base.
Yeah, I mean, we've a similar thing. We've done kind of pop-up stores in London. We did one with Nike last year. They did it was called Project 10. It was 10 sneakers. There ended up only being 9 of them because one of them was delayed in the factory. But it was this Project 10 thing. So we did a pop-up store in Shoreditch. We got a big kind of space under a railway arch. And we did like an exhibition and kind of just telling the story of all of these sneakers. So you couldn't go in and buy them. You had to register online. If you won, if you were privileged enough, you then had to go to the London store and collect them. And we had people traveling from like Australia, Hong Kong, to come and pick their trainers up, and it was kind of a big event for them, and they were tweeting it, and it's and a lot of work goes into that, and we probably would have been much easier for us just to post them out to people and not go to all that hassle. But it does kind of get people a bit bought into the experience of it, I guess.
You're making me paranoid about my shoes, by the way. We're still good sneakers.
I upped my sneaker game today.
And so that leads into that multi-channel, because you're talking about pop-up and store. And so you've got 3 stores, don't you?
Two London store coming this year.
Coming soon.
Yeah, Soho. Keep your eyes peeled.
Right, and so that's something that's interesting from you, from that online offline journey.
Yeah.
What are the things that you're learning from traditional retail that you can put into digital and vice versa?
So, rather embarrassingly, not a lot. So we've got a store in Newcastle and a store in Glasgow, and obviously we're a global business, so probably about 0.1% of our customers fall within Newcastle or Glasgow. I think when London opens, it'll change things a lot. But it's very disconnected at the minute. It is something we're working on. I mean, we don't even do things like click and collect because it's not really worth the investment in time and technology for the very small number of customers that it will actually benefit. I mean, we've got things like we sell 400 brands, so we obviously can't have all of those brands in our stores, so we have touch screens and you can kind of order things to be delivered to store to try them on and things like that. But I actually think you're doing far more interesting things in that space and have far better ideas than I do right now.
Because Mark, you've dabbled now, and you're now into your very first store, and it's literally this is a shameless plug for it's called Beerhawk, and it's just literally over the river. I was there last night sampling a beer or three.
It was very good. I highly recommend it.
And
that's coming from a Geordie.
So that was 2.5 years in the making, from inception to opening on last Thursday.
So Friday. So
Friday.
You know, we're at this for 4 days. So we, you know, just to set expectations, we've not learned a great lot yet.
But talk me through that thinking, because that starts with the seed of an idea, some kind of innovation to reality. What was that?
So I guess initially I discovered craft beer in a bar. I didn't like wake up one morning and this amazing craft beer was in my fridge ready to go. So I traveled a lot in America and had gone to, I guess, craft beer bars before they really came a thing in the UK. I guess that's where people really can discover their sort of next favorite beer. And when we think about what we're trying to do, like I really would love to try to get everyone to do it. So we actually met in the bar, very good bar, just over the bridge. I don't know if we mentioned it last night. And I love just saying, okay, David, so what beers do you like, and how can I sort of guide you to? Oh, you might like this one. This is really cool. And I think that's quite difficult to do as an experience online. Like we're working on it. We're working on like how we can get sort of more curated personal recommendations to life. We're looking at personalization, but it's just hard. And so one of the things that we wanted to do was sort of see what we could do with a physical space, from learning from customers, trying to see how people actually discover beer and what we can then bring back online as well. And I think the thing that we're particularly interested in looking at is, from a brand perspective, sometimes e-commerce sites can just be a bit transactional, and we try to make them less transactional, but actually a lot of the things that we do is trying to make it a very frictionless purchase. And yes, we try and follow up afterwards, but I'm sure there are better examples of that. Actually, if people experience our brand physically in a bar, bottle shop, an event, do they have a bigger connection with the brand that goes on for them to want to sort of keep coming back and keep discovering beer with us, and bringing that online? So that's the big reason that we're trying to do it, and try to really learn properly about omnichannel.
And then to feed it back into digital and those marginal gains and the optimization. And that ties in with the conversion rate optimization. Explain the way that you set up your team, because it might be different from quite a few businesses here.
So yeah, this really was awesome. So I've never spoken to another retailer who does kind of the marketing tech split the way we do until I met Mark.
Who thought beer and trainers, but they've got a lot of similarities.
So we have basically the way we split it is marketing. Their job is to get good quality traffic to our website. Our tech team is responsible for what happens on the website. So my tech team is the owner of the conversion rate metric. I've not seen a lot of other businesses do it that way. And I mean, I was having a conversation with PayPal about changing our PayPal checkout flow. And they were like, you'll need to get okay from marketing on this, because they want to make sure it's not going to impact conversions. I was like, no, why would I want to get okay from marketing? So that's kind of how we split it, and it works really well for us. It's kind of quite a clear, nice divide. It's challenging sometimes in the boardroom when you've got investors and they don't quite get it, but it works for us.
And how do you work in a similar way, but there are some differences?
So similar, a bit different. So I guess the primary sort of function of our marketing team is to get people to obviously become aware that there is a brand called Beerhawk and to visit us, and the right type of people, the people who are likely to enjoy the products we sell and to buy online too. I guess when they get there, we do have a CRO program, and it's actually led by someone who works in our sort of product team, sort of beside tech. And I think that the focus of that is, obviously to try to optimize conversion rate through the website, and just doing a series of tests based on hypotheses that are often proved totally wrong. And then we'll have tests that sort of really surprise us. So that's sort of where they come together. And I think the interesting bit is actually where the marketing needs to join up with the landing page, so it feels more integrated, especially for products like the Advent calendar, or for some of the gifting times that we do. So Father's Day at the moment is a good example, and that's where we just have to get people in the same room, thrashing it out and making sure it works.
Is it AutoTrader, I think, who abolished their marketing team and just put marketing people in tech? I think there's so much overlap now. It's that kind of seems sort of scary, but sort of smart as well.
You just want to take over the world as a CTO.
Yeah, well, I'm gradually just bringing in more departments in there.
And what focus areas of innovation, as you're looking forwards, are front of mind for you?
I'll go first.
Yeah, so I mean, I think I said, we've got a lot of learning to do on this omni-channel thing. What does it mean to us? Can we get it to work? If we can, what does that mean? Do we want to open more venues, and what might they look like? So there's loads of learning there, and I think that will be a really interesting thing to bring back online and offline. Personalization, based on that, what I talked about before, that's clearly a big theme. And then, we don't have an app. Everyone is talking about progressive web apps, and so one of the things that I wanted to come here for is sort of learn about that, and sort of technically, what advantages could we bring to our experience if we started going down that route. So I would really like to pick your brains more on that.
Yeah. So for us, probably areas that kind of everyone's focusing on is mobile, of course.
You've got an app, don't you? And that's
we have native apps, but still, I feel like mobile hasn't really been realized to its full potential yet. I mean, and I sort of think that about the e-commerce experience in general. If you think about it, we took the experience of shopping in a supermarket and we put it on a desktop computer, and then these mobile devices came and said, oh, well, what should we do? Well, we'll just take that same experience and shrink it down. And, I mean, I don't know necessarily what the answer is here, but I'm sure in the next few years we're going to see some really interesting things with mobile, definitely with things like Apple Pay and things like that. This kind of like really streamlining it and taking that traditional checkout, taking it away, which I think is super interesting. So mobile is a really big focus for us at the minute. I don't necessarily know what all the answers are, but we're open to trying different things. I do feel that it's there's a lot that can be done there. Also for us, a kind of a big focus at the moment is how we present products. When I was talking before about the kind of launches stuff that we do, a lot of what we do is about marketing to the brands as well. We want them to give us their cool products, and they'll only do that if they think we're cool. So we're doing a lot of work at the minute around kind of how do we present these limited edition products in kind of a fun and interesting way? How do we tell a story around it? So my team are looking at things like WebGL and kind of technologies like 3JS to kind of think about how can we be really kind of creative about how we present this product instead of it just being a product page. And we've got the luxury of being able to do that because it's going to sell out regardless, right? It's like hundreds of thousands of people want to buy them. There's like 1,000 pairs. It's going to sell out, so we can kind of be a bit more creative and be a bit more daring with kind of how we present it, and hopefully the brands will like it, and next time they'll give us more stuff. And
we're running to a close here. In terms of innovative thinking spawns innovative thinking in a way. Ideas breed ideas around that. What one piece of final thoughts would you like to leave with the audience to help them? Is there any magical advice you have, or a nugget of wisdom that you've learnt around your teams?
Just do it. Yeah, just do it. So I remember, I don't know how much time we've got. I'll keep it short. I'm super interested in creative writing, and I did a creative writing course once, and it's all about kind of pushing through that editor in your head that's saying, no, this is shit, don't do that. What you're thinking writing that? And it's kind of pushing through that and kind of keeping going. And then yes, that first bit might have been shit, but something good will come later if you can just push through and keep going with it. And I think that's sort of creativity in general, really, is you've just got to go with it and sort of like, yeah, I mean, look, when it's a business and there's revenue involved and targets to hit and things like that, it can be a bit scary, but I think sometimes you've just got to kind of push through all that and try and don't bite off more than you can chew, of course, but just kind of push through and do it.
I mean, totally agree. To innovate, you've got to do stuff, and you've got to experiment, and you've got to just be okay that you're just going to fail on stuff, right. And that's fine. And I think the thing that kind of overcomes that failure and sort of bouncing down, getting back up again, is if you can find people with a real passion for what they're doing. Because if they have a real passion for what they're doing, then failure doesn't matter as much, right. and they can just keep going and
you
keep
give them the scope,
experimenting.
the runway to be able to.
You try, try to create the conditions that would enable people to give stuff a go. Doesn't always work, obviously, but we try.
And I think getting the right people as well is super important. Because some people naturally kind of take to innovation and they've got all these ideas, and some people are a little bit like, no, I just want to get on my job. And so I think it's about getting the right people. We have quite a good interview process geared up towards trying to find people who we feel will be a good cultural fit. And cultural fit is so much more important to me than technical ability. Like, I can teach someone the technical stuff. I can't teach them to be kind of culturally a good fit for the team. So, but yeah, I mean, it comes down to people at the end of the day. They're the ones who have to do it right.
Fabulous. Paul, Mark, thank you very much for sharing your insights, and thank you, audience. Please give a warm round of applause. I don't think we have time for questions.
I think we do, actually.
Oh, we do? Fabulous.
Hello.
Wonderful.
News just
in.
Has anybody got any questions for this amazing panel?
Got man in the white shirt. I feel like David Dimbleby on Question Time.
Ella,
Man in the white shirt.
Go next. That one.
You
spent a little bit of time describing there was some kind of difference in your corporate setup, how you'd set up marketing versus tech. Didn't spend enough time for me on it. Can I get a clearer understanding of what the real meaningful difference is between this and all the other companies that you find you're not an example of?
Yes. So often when I talk to people, marketing have a lot of ownership over what happens on the site. So they're responsible for landing pages, often photography, banners, things like that. It'll be the marketing team who will go out and engage a conversion rate optimization company, mouthful, and come up with a program for optimization, and it will be the marketing team who drive that. With us, we don't do that. It's all driven by tech. So we're very much set up as kind of product teams. The product owners have ownership of the website. We marketing, they deal with advertising, paid advertising, email, that sort of stuff. Their job is to deliver traffic to the site. When the traffic hits the site, it's my team's domain. If that makes sense.
Man in the white shirt.
Hiya. Thanks for sharing your insights. I'm more interested around frauds subject, online frauds. So you do have, I guess, 10,000, 100,000 transactions, maybe millions per year. How do you cope with the online frauds?
To me?
I guess both of you guys.
Yeah, it's a challenge. We have very expensive products. It's a real target for fraudsters. And this has been a real pain point for us. We've been losing a lot of money. We recently just brought in a new head of payments and fraud. She came from River Island, so quite a big company. And she's really kind of turned it around in the last few months, but it was a real dire situation for us. We have our own in-house fraud team, but they weren't really a fraud team, because when you grow so fast, you tend to just promote people from within. So we promoted people from customer services into fraud, and they're not fraud analysts. So they're doing the best job they can with the skills that they have, but ultimately, they're trying to put out a fire that they just didn't know how to put out.
Is the scope for innovative thinking in that
Fraud.
area of the business?
So I actually think fraud is super interesting. As it's been a problem for us, I'm fascinated at kind of where it all could go, and I'm fascinated particularly by things like machine learning and fraud and the role that can play. I know some vendors are experimenting with it. I don't think anyone is using just machine learning to combat fraud. I know some people are kind of doing a bit of a mix, but I think that there's real scope for innovation, especially as fraudsters become more sophisticated. To answer your question, it's a challenge.
Do you get much fraud in your
Well,
business?
do you know, it's interesting. So we have a much lower purchase value. So individual bottles, can start at £1.50 to, well, actually quite a lot. Sometimes £50 for a bottle of beer, which is surprising. But it's not £500 for a pair of high-end trainers. And so actually we do the fairly standard stuff that you would expect with payment providers and payment gateways, 3D Secure, etc. I think we have some more customer service issues where, for instance, beer has been delivered and either left in a safe place or not left in a safe place, and it's really difficult to prove that. And so making sure that further down the logistics chain, we use sort of different courier networks to deliver, sort of making sure that we have a photo and sort of the right things and signatures and getting that information back into our systems so that when our customer services team speak to customers, they can actually say, oh, that's interesting that you say that. It's just that I have this photo that says this. And I think we sort of manage it there. I think there's probably more that we could do as we grow to think about that. We haven't, interesting you said that you've identified that as a problem. I don't think yet we have identified that as a problem. We're just doing the sensible things that we think we could manage.
So our fraud rate hit 3%. It's really bad. But yeah, we're in a good place now. We're in a really, really good place now. But it was definitely a challenge for a while.
Thank you. Is there any other question?
Question over there.
Me too. Is there anybody else? And Ella can come and stand next to you. No? Oh, there's one here as well.
Hi, my name's Pierre. I'm head of e-commerce for a clothing company near Venice. And thank you for the input. We're big fans of End Clothing, and I know a lot of people, my team, buy from End.
They pay my wages.
I wanted to ask you both, Paul and Mark, because when we talk about innovation mindset, we're thinking digitally most of the time. And as an e-commerce or a pure e-commerce company, does having shops more offline setup help innovation? So if you start from with an e-commerce company, going towards setting up stores, will that help develop the innovation?
So I don't necessarily know innovation, but I can tell you our experience of opening stores is we generally see a boost in online revenue in wherever we open the store. So when we opened in Glasgow, we saw kind of a boost in traffic and revenue. I'm sure a similar thing will happen in London. It's actually interesting, we were just talking to someone before about the House of Fraser just announced they were closing down God knows how many stores, and like we're one of the few retailers who are actually opening stores. So I kind of think the tides have turned a little bit, and the companies who have embraced e-commerce are now in a position to open up stores and do kind of things with a physical presence. And these kind of old school kind of high street retailers who failed to embrace e-commerce properly are closing down their stores. So I kind of feel like it's a bit of a role reversal.
I mean, I don't know how much we're going to learn from our story as it's 4 days, but I think already we're starting to see little things. So an example, chatting to the bar staff there actually last night, and we have a really nice fridge of lots of beers. There's only 120 beers in the fridge, and you see people go up to it and just go, ooh, literally, where do I start with this? And so the bar staff are sort of talking about the things that they do to sort of try to guide people to finding beers. And you know, if you go to the bar today, we're not doing a good job of this. But then you kind of just reflect on, well, online, we just show 1,200 beers. You know, go and knock yourself out, and we'll put some basic filters on. You know, that's not good enough, really, is it? So that's sort of sparking the thought. And I just think, you know, the closer you can get to customers, the better. And that's really hard online. So, you know, in our industry, we are fortunate to have a lot of beer festivals, and I'm fortunate enough to go to a lot of them. And one of the best things is, you know, wear a Beerhawk t-shirt and people come up to you, go, hey, I buy from you guys, you know, ooh, how was your experience? You know, it's good. And then when you get over that, it's like, well, what could we do? What are we missing? What are the things? And I think that's where some of our best ideas come from, and just getting our teams out, chatting to customers. So I think it's going to help, but it's too early.
Thank you very much for the input.
There's a question.
Hello. I also have a question related to innovation. So how do you keep track of it? Do you have any kind of KPI, or do you have some meetings with your team to track how innovative you've been or you're gonna be? So, because besides the KPIs which are related to growth and revenue, innovation is not that easy to track. Yep.
It's really hard to track, isn't it? So I think the short answer is, as a concept innovation, I think it's really difficult to track. I don't think we track innovation itself. I mean, sure, we look at, you know, the number of releases, we look at how quickly we're able to turn stuff around, we get a sense of, you know, are we really bringing enough new products and new packagings and things to market? But it's not, I don't think we do a very good job of sort of the metrics within innovation. It's much more focused to like those North Star KPIs, you know, are we doing a great job for our customers, you know, net promoter score, are we doing a great job for our business, you know, the sort of revenues and the commercial side of it, et cetera, rather than innovation.
Yeah.
And it sounds like, you know, you're both leaders of your businesses, you're able to drive that, and so if you're promoting and fostering a spirit of innovation, that gives the freedom and allows, with the opposite being, if you haven't got leaders with that mindset, it must be much harder to be able to get innovative ideas surface, you know, turned into something reality, because it would get flattened by, I guess, the logic police. Yeah.
I never really thought of myself as being particularly innovative until I was asked to do this, and I was, you know, what on earth am I going to talk about? And I kind of thought it through, and I was like, oh yeah, actually, you could talk about this, could talk about this. So I kind of felt like it was. I never sat down with a conscious, oh, we're going to be innovative here. But I kind of feel like I want to be fast. I want to be deploying stuff frequently. You know, we deployed nearly 800 tasks so far this year, which is up 80% over last year. So that's, you know, that's a fantastic achievement for my team. So we measure, obviously we measure things like cycle time and things like that. There's just, oh, someone might go off. I kind of feel if innovation is about just getting stuff out there, then that's probably a good measurement, is how much stuff are we getting out there.
Brad, I think we've got time for just one more question.
Hi guys, I work for a flower delivery company called Flower BX, and at the moment we outsource our Magento development to an agency. But obviously looking at wanting to move faster and be more innovative, we're getting to the point of saying, you know, maybe we should start building our own at some point. So what I'm interested to know in your journey is, did you start off with your own development team and built it up, or did you outsource? Or what was the sort of pivot point for you? I'm just interested to know when that happened and how.
Yeah, go for it.
So, so we started our own in-house development team 3.5 years ago. In London, so it's completely separate to the rest of the company. It was very much an aspiration of us to do this probably for 3 or 4 years before that. We just couldn't do it in Newcastle. There wasn't the talent. We really struggled. So at that time it was me, some freelancers. We used an agency for a bit. Wasn't an amazing experience. So yeah, we got a bit of investment about four or so years ago from Index Ventures. We decided to use a bit of that cash to start up a London team. So initially it was just me, and who's now my head of developer, sat at the opposite ends of the room. And I think it grew to about 6 people in the first year. And as we demonstrated the value of it to the business, they just were prepared to invest more and more in tech. So we kind of brought everything in-house now. We do DevOps in-house. We do all our own design, got a QA team. We do our native apps in-house. And we're just about to embark on delivering an ERP project in-house as well, which is, everyone thinks I'm crazy when I say that, but it's kind of in our DNA. It's just how we like to do things. I'll report back next year whether we're still doing it ourselves. But yeah, it is, you know, it's tough. It's hard to find good people. But I definitely think for us, the real key to its success was separating it from the rest of the business. Having that kind of nice office in Old Street, startup environment. And it's not that hard to do, you know, there are WeWorks everywhere now. You can easily just get some space in a WeWork and kind of immediately at the snap of the fingers have that startup culture.
And that was iterative, wasn't it? So you stage that a bit like you're kind of, you use an agency and you have some in-house, don't you?
We do. I mean, you know, we've been on a really speedy journey in 6 years. Don't forget, 6 years ago, it was me and a mate in a really tiny room, and so we couldn't afford agencies or anything. So I maybe totally foolishly just said, right, I'll try and learn about this thing called Magento. How hard can it be? You know, so had a go, spun up community. Okay, there's quite a lot of settings. What does that do? You know, how do we do this? And I brought in a freelancer to sort of help me with the technical stuff. So I'm a marketing guy. I'm not technical. And then we kind of realised that it would be quite helpful to have someone who was technical. So we brought someone who's technical in. I don't know if Will is in this room or here, but he's here today, and he's sort of still with us. And I think from there we've just kind of always been sort of in-house, and I quite like the way that we can then just work with the technical team and sort of do things quite quickly and just get instant feedback, and that really works. We really struggle to recruit. So based in Yorkshire, we have real problems recruiting sort of great technical people who are knowledgeable about Magento, but also, you know, other new technologies and e-commerce and things, which is a real struggle. So we then also have some, I guess, agency support, but we treat them as an extension of the team in Warsaw in Poland. And then when we have just earlier this year transitioned from our sort of existing M1 community site to M2 enterprise, and when we did that, we used a very good agency called Pinpoint, who are local to us, and they work very much in collaboration with the team to sort of make the build. And I think the reason we do that is because we just need, you know, great talent, and it's really difficult to recruit. Yeah,
I mean, it's difficult in London, but yeah, I think it takes us probably about 3 months to find a Magento developer. But saying that, you know, it's not as bad as in some other areas. You know, we're trying to build an Android team out at the minute. Complete nightmare trying to find people. And you think kind of it would be easier. Like, you know, I recruit for Magento, for God's sake. How hard can Android be? Well, pretty damn hard, actually.
Thank you very much, guys. Have you got any closing remarks that you'd like to finish the panel with?
I think we're getting in the way of lunch. So
yeah,
I'm quite hungry.
I'm pretty hungry.
Thank you again for all your input and ideas, and really appreciate you taking the time out to share it with the audience. Cool. Thank you.